On a rainy Friday night, Mia sat parked outside her boyfriend's condo, engine off, headlights dimmed, heart racing. She wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't even supposed to know where he was. But something didn't feel right. Something had been off for weeks. The late night meetings, the phone flipped face down, the sudden gym obsession. At first, she blamed herself. She thought maybe she was overthinking, being insecure. But that night, at 9:42 p.m., when she saw his best friend Troy walk into Nate's building, carrying a bottle of wine in a duffel bag, something inside her snapped. 10 minutes later, Nate let him in. No hesitation, no surprise, just comfort. Mia stayed in the car, frozen, the rain hitting her windshield louder than her thoughts. Troy, of all people. He was Nate's best friend, the one who always called her sis, the one who once gave a toast at her birthday dinner. To the best couple I know. Now he was walking into her boyfriend's condo, with wine, on a Friday night. She waited, for 2 hours, then drove home in silence. That's when it all began. The next morning, Mia didn't confront Nate. She acted normal, made breakfast, kissed him on the cheek, watched him lie to her in real time. He said he had a late night at work, that he passed out on the couch, that he missed her. She nodded, smiled, and saved her breakdown for later. In the bathroom with the shower running. The truth didn't fully explode until a week later, and it happened by accident. Mia was using Nate's iPad to AirPlay a movie. She tapped the Safari icon by mistake, and there it was. Open front and center. A full text thread, labeled T. She clicked it. The first message read, "Still thinking about your mouth last night." The next was a photo. Nate, shirtless, in their bed, smiling into the camera. Mia's throat closed. Her chest started to burn. Not from anger. Not yet. But from disbelief. She scrolled further. Voice notes, heart emojis, plans for a weekend getaway. And then, at the bottom, "You think she suspects anything?" "Nah, she still thinks I'm into girls." Mia didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't throw the iPad. She screen recorded everything. That night, she waited until Nate got home. He walked in, kissed her forehead, and asked what was for dinner. She handed him the iPad. He scrolled, paused, looked up, didn't speak. She said nothing either, just watched him squirm. After a full minute, he exhaled like he'd been holding it in for years. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said. "I was confused." Mia's voice was ice cold. "You weren't confused. You were careful. There's a difference." Over the next hour, Nate confessed everything. It had been going on for 6 months. Started during a trip to Miami. A drunken kiss that turned into something more. He said Troy understood him in a way Mia never could. She asked one question. "Were you ever going to tell me?" His silence was louder than any answer. She packed her bag. Left the apartment without another word. No fight. No scene. Just gone. But what came next? That was the real twist. Mia didn't say a word publicly. She didn't drag him on social media. Didn't send the screenshots to anyone. But a week later, one of her friends, who worked at Troy's fiance's hair salon, saw the text on Mia's phone. And it spread. Fast. Within 24 hours, Troy's engagement was off. His family disowned him. Nate's church friends cut him off. And suddenly, Mia was the villain. DMs poured in. "You exposed him. You ruined their lives. You couldn't just walk away?" But she hadn't exposed anything. They exposed themselves. She just found it. 2 months later, Mia saw Nate at a grocery store. Alone. Thinner. Tired. He tried to smile. She walked past him like she never knew his name. Because here's what no one tells you. Betrayal doesn't always come from the enemy. Sometimes it comes from the person who slept in your bed and used your love to cover their lie. Mia started therapy, started journaling, started rebuilding. Not because she was broken, but because she wanted to make sure this never happened again. She doesn't hate Nate. She pities him. Because he lost a woman who would have stood by him if he had just told the truth. Not about who he loved, but about who he really was. And if you think the worst part is the cheating, you're wrong. The worst part was realizing she was never even part of the real story. Now, when people ask her what happened with Nate, she just smiles and says, "He wasn't mine. He was just borrowing my time." But what they don't know is, after that day in the grocery store, Mia didn't sleep for 2 nights. She kept hearing his voice, his apologies, that quiet, careful confession. "I was confused," it echoed, not because she believed it, but because she wondered how long it had been going on. Had she missed the signs for months? Years? She went back and replayed everything. The Miami trip, when he came back quieter, the new cologne, the sudden obsession with private phone calls in the bathroom. All the signs were there, but she loved him too much to see them. Or maybe she loved who she thought he was, more than who he actually was. And that realization, that was the part that broke her. Not his sexuality, not the betrayal, but the fact that she had loved a version of him that never existed. Mia stayed single for a while, not because she didn't get attention, but because she didn't trust herself anymore. She questioned her judgment, her instincts, her ability to see through someone's charm. Every hey in her DMs made her flinch. Every nice guy started to feel like a new kind of danger. Because Nate wasn't a monster. He wasn't loud or violent. He was soft, polite, strategic, and somehow that made it worse. A year later, she heard through a mutual friend that Nate moved in with someone, a man. They were living together downtown, happier, freer. At first it stung, then it confused her, and then it made sense, because it meant it was never about her being not enough. It was about him not being ready or honest enough to live the life he wanted. And instead of being honest with her, he used her to cover it, to mask it, to make himself look normal to the people who never would have accepted the truth. One night, Mia sat across from her therapist and asked, "How do I stop blaming myself for something I didn't cause?" Her therapist smiled softly and said, "You don't. You just learned to stop carrying what was never yours to hold." That stuck with her, because for too long, she'd been carrying the shame, the embarrassment, the headlines that never got printed, and slowly she started dropping it, piece by piece, until she was light enough to breathe again. Months later, Mia started writing. Not a book, not a blog, just letters. To her younger self, the girl who believed in forever, the girl who bought Nate his favorite cologne every Valentine's, the girl who cooked dinner every Thursday night, even when she knew he wouldn't show up on time. She wrote to that girl, to forgive her, to love her, to thank her for leaving. And today, Mia still doesn't tell the full story, not unless she's asked, because it's not a story about betrayal anymore. It's a story about awakening. And when someone finally had the nerve to ask her, "Don't you hate him?" she laughed gently and said, "No, because if I did, I'd still be giving him energy he doesn't deserve." She doesn't hate him. She thanks him, because without that heartbreak, she wouldn't have met the version of herself that knows how to walk away without flinching, how to rebuild from ash, how to heal without needing closure. And when someone asks why she never outed him, never exposed him, she just shrugs, because Mia knows, not every battle leaves scars on the body. Some just leave you wiser and stronger than you ever thought you could be. Hit that like button and subscribe for more disturbing true crime stories.